Mark paced nervously. His tuxedo felt tight. He could feel the sweat forming on his brow and his hands were clammy. Every few seconds he adjusted his bow tie, trying to make it sit just right. It was his wedding day. The day he had been dreaming about for months, meticulously planning every detail to make it perfect. Today he would marry the woman of his dreams, Jessica. She was everything he had ever wanted and more. He smiled, remembering their first date. It was a rainy evening, and they had ducked into a small cafe to escape the downpour. He had spilled coffee everywhere. Jessica just laughed. She was perfect. Her laughter was infectious, and it had put him at ease instantly. Mark glanced at the clock. Time to go. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Today was the happiest day of his life. He couldn't wait to see Jessica walk down the aisle. Mark arrived at the church. Everything was beautiful. The decorations were exactly as they had planned. White lilies, Jessica's favorites, lined the aisle. Their fragrance filled the air, adding to the magic of the moment. He took a deep breath, calming his nerves. He could hear the soft murmur of guests arriving. He saw his best man, Tom. Tom had been his rock throughout the entire wedding planning process. "Ready?" Tom asked, handing him a sealed envelope. Mark looked at it curiously. "Jessica wanted you to have this before the ceremony?" Mark frowned. That was unusual. He had no idea what it could be. He tore open the envelope. His hands trembled slightly as he pulled out the contents. Inside was a single photograph. His heart pounded as he looked at it. In it, Jessica was kissing another man. Mark's mind raced, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The blood drained from Mark's face. This couldn't be real. His world stopped. Everything he thought he knew was shattered. The photo slipped from his grasp. It fluttered to the ground, landing face up. He felt a dark rage building inside him. Betrayal and anger surged through his veins, threatening to consume him. The world blurred around Mark. The sounds of the bustling wedding faded into a dull roar. Jessica, his Jessica, was kissing another man, his best friend. The betrayal cut deep, a searing pain in his chest. He reread the note attached to the photo. "Sorry, Mark, he's the one." Mark's heart pounded in his ears. He felt sick. Years of memories flashed before his eyes. Their first date, their first kiss, their first vacation together, all lies. She never loved him. Anger bubbled inside him, hot and fierce. He crumpled the photo in his fist. A cold resolve settled over him. He wouldn't let her get away with this. He would not be humiliated. Not today, not ever. He would have his revenge, and it would be merciless. Mark's mind raced, formulating a plan. He wouldn't stoop to her level. He wouldn't cause a scene. He would hit her where it hurt most. Her carefully crafted image. He found a quiet corner, his phone, his weapon now. He called the wedding planner, his voice steady and calm. He made a simple request. Instead of his vows, he wanted to play a video. A special video message for Jessica. The wedding planner, oblivious to the storm brewing, readily agreed. Everything was falling into place, but Mark had more in store. He would expose her darkest secrets. The ceremony began. The sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over the entire setup. Guests were seated, eagerly awaiting the moment when the bride would make her grand entrance. Mark watched Jessica walk down the aisle, a radiant smile on her face. Her dress flowed elegantly, and every step she took seemed to be in slow motion, capturing the attention of everyone present. She looked stunning, but all Mark saw was a web of deceit. Memories of her betrayal flashed through his mind, tainting the beauty of the moment. He fought to keep his expression neutral. Inside, a storm of emotions raged, but he knew he had to stay composed for what was about to unfold. The moment of truth arrived. The officiant asked if anyone had any objections, and the room fell silent, the tension palpable. The video started playing on the large screens in the hall. It began innocently enough, with a montage of their happiest moments together. The video showcased a montage of photos of Mark and Jessica. Laughter, love, and shared dreams filled the screen, painting a picture of a perfect couple. But as the music swelled, photos of Jessica and her secret lover appeared. Whispers filled the room. Jessica's face turned pale. The betrayal was laid bare for all to see. She frantically searched for Mark, but he was gone. Panic set in as she realized the gravity of the situation. He watched her from afar, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. His phone buzzed, breaking his trance. It was a message from Jessica. "Please, we need to talk." He smiled. The tables had turned, and he was in control now. It was too late for explanations. He had moved on. The weight of her betrayal had lifted, replaced by a newfound sense of freedom. He deleted her message without replying. He had his revenge. The satisfaction was fleeting, but it was enough for now. But in the quiet of that moment, he felt a strange emptiness. The victory felt hollow, and the reality of his actions began to sink in. He realized revenge was a dish best not served at all. It left a bitter aftertaste, one that he couldn't easily wash away. It left a bitter aftertaste. The satisfaction he had felt moments ago was replaced by a deep sense of regret. But he wasn't done yet. He had more plans for her. The game was far from over, and he was ready for the next move. Mark wasn't satisfied with just exposing Jessica. The betrayal he felt was too deep, too raw. He couldn't simply let it go. He wanted her to feel the same pain he did, to understand the depth of his anguish. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about making her see the consequences of her actions. He hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on her lover. The investigator was thorough, leaving no stone unturned. The investigator found out the man was married with kids. This revelation was the key to Mark's plan. Mark sent the evidence to the man's wife. The fallout was immediate. The man's family was devastated, and the news spread like wildfire. Jessica's lover was kicked out, his reputation ruined. He lost everything he held dear, just as Mark had. Jessica was left alone, her life in shambles. She had no one to turn to, no one to comfort her. Mark watched from a distance, feeling a twisted satisfaction. He had orchestrated this downfall, and it played out exactly as he had planned. He had destroyed her world, just as she had destroyed his. But the satisfaction was fleeting. As days turned into weeks, Mark began to question his actions. The initial thrill of revenge began to fade, replaced by a gnawing emptiness. The emptiness he felt grew deeper. He realized that in his quest for vengeance he had lost a piece of himself. The satisfaction was fleeting, replaced by a hollow void. Revenge had consumed him, leaving regret in its wake. Mark understood true healing couldn't come from inflicting pain. It could only come from within. He decided to leave the past behind, seeking solace in a future free of bitterness. And as he walked away from the ruins of his revenge, he hoped that one day he would find peace. But the darkness lingered, a constant reminder of the cruelty he had embraced. The journey to healing was long, but Mark was determined to find his way. In the beginning, there was joy. Mark's wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. He was set to marry Jessica, the woman of his dreams. But in a cruel twist of fate, a single photograph shattered his world. It showed Jessica, the love of his life, kissing another man. Betrayed and humiliated, Mark's heart hardened. He vowed to get his revenge, setting off a chain of events that would change their lives forever. As we dive deeper into this story, we'll see how Mark orchestrated his retribution, served justice cold, and faced the hollow aftermath of his actions. Stay tuned as we unravel this tale of love, betrayal, and the quest for true healing.